Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Commander Swap. Today we're doing Esper Reanimator vehicles, where we're going to turn our graveyard into a scrapyard, and crew with fairies, Astrati warriors, colorless constructs, or even heroes. And we're going to do all this for just about 50 bucks. And for cheaper and a better mana base than most precons, this is going to leave us enough money to feed our cats. Speaking of cats, we have our first commander, Graha, Scion Reborn. For white, blue, black, you get a legendary creature Cat Wizard. It's a 2/3. Has lifelink and throw wide the gates. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay X life for X of that spell's mana value. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token, then put X 1/1 counters on it. Do this only once each turn. Now, the benefit of him is that you get a pretty quick and powerful token generation, and late game you can even have some big beaters to swing out. Plus he's cheap to keep in the command zone, and he comes in a great borderless art. I'll put that up on screen real quick. Next we have my personal favorite, Alela, Artful Provocateur. For a 1 white, blue, black, you get a legendary creature, Fairy Warlock. It's 2/3. Has flying, death touch, and lifelink. Other creatures you control with flying get +1/+0. Whenever you cast an artifact or an enchantment spell, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. Dang, so every vehicle we drop is going to make a 2/1 to crew it? Freaking sick. And it's just fun to play Alela. I mean, it's just nice to have a death toucher for the blocks, but it's also just hilarious to throw a fairy into a Knight Paladin's armor and swing for lethal. Speaking of Knight Paladins, we have Marneus Calgar. For 2 white, blue, black, you get a legendary creature, Astrati's Warrior. It's a 3/5. It has double strike, Master Tactician, where whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. It has Chapter Master. For 6 at instant speed, you can create 2 white Astrati creature warrior tokens with vigilance. And because of Master Tactician, you draw a card. Now, he's about $7. Take him out of the deck and it's about 40, so throw him at your own disposal, but he's just super badass. It makes a cool wall of tokens that can easily block and crew. Great card. And last but not least is Urza, Chief Artificer. For 3 white, blue, black, you get a legendary creature, Human Artificer. It's a 4/5. It has affinity for artifact creatures, so he costs 1 less to cast for each artifact creature you control. And artifact creatures you control have menace. And at the beginning of your end step, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. So those guys can get pretty big pretty quick. Plus, if we have a late game board of 4 or 5 creatures, those guys are looking pretty lethal, honestly, with their menace. Plus, it's just nice to have Urza in the command zone as a lord to give all your vehicles menace. Swinging out for lethal pretty quick and easily. We love this guy. And now that we've introduced the 4 commanders, we can see they all share one theme. They're enablers. They allow our vehicles to become artifact creatures and swing in. But what about the other parts of the deck? The reanimator part. Like with Emery, Lurker of the Lock. For 2 and a blue, you get a legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard. It's a 1/2. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. When Emery enters the battlefield, mill 4 cards, and she has tap, choose target artifact card in your graveyard. You may cast this card this turn. So Emery's is basically one of the many cards that make our graveyard a second hand. And we're going to tailor that second hand with Shorakai, Genesis Engine. For 2 white, blue, you get a legendary artifact vehicle. It's an 8/8. And for 1, tap, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. And create a 1/1 colorless pilot creature token with this crew's vehicles as though its power were 2 greater, and has crew 8. Shorakai Genesis Engine, if he's out early, just treat this guy as your commander. He's a great way to tailor your graveyard with your big fat vehicles to be later reanimated, and he's just cool. And once our graveyard's looking like it'll give us tetanus, we can play one last job. For 2 and a white, we get a sorcery that has spree, so we can choose 1 or more additional cost. The only one we really care about is return target mount or vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So for 4 mana, we can return a vehicle and really start getting big damage on the board. Or we can spend 5 mana and return an emergency creature of some kind. But nonetheless, it's a really good card in this deck. Another one of my favorite value pieces in the deck is Greasefane, Kiba Boss. For 1 white black, you get a legendary creature, Rat Pilot. At the beginning of combat on your turn, return target vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of your next end step. So basically, we're continuing with our theme of card advantage, but Greasefane just cheats out vehicles for a quick swing, and considering you still have to crew the vehicle with 4 power, she's able to do that herself. And next we have Alela, Breaker of Chains. For 1 blue-black, you get a legendary creature, Human Assassin Pirate. He's a 4/1. When this guy enters, reveal the top 6 cards of your library. Put an Assassin, Pirate, or Vehicle card from among them into your hand and rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, you may return Alela from your graveyard to your hand. Now, not only is this guy able to crew pretty good, but he actually provides insane card advantage. Another great piece in this deck is Anchor to Reality. For 2 blue-blue, you get a sorcery. As an additional cost of the spell, sacrifice an artifact or a creature. Easy to do with our commanders. Then we're going to search our library for an equipment or vehicle card, put it on the battlefield, shuffle. If its mana value was less than the sacrifice permanent's mana value, scry 2. That ain't going to happen, but we are going to be able to cheat our favorite vehicle out of the deck. Whether you're filling this thing with the 40k stuff, the Baldur's Gate stuff, Aether Drift, some of the new Edge of Eternity's jargon, go crazy. And coming in first place out of Aether Drift is Demonic Junker. For 6 and a black, you get an artifact vehicle. It's a 4/3, has affinity for artifacts, so it costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. When this vehicle enters, for each player, destroy up to 1 target creature that player controls. If a creature you control was destroyed this way, put 2 counters on this thing. Has crew 2. Great, we're making a bunch of tokens, ETB, blow something up, make this into a 6/5. Plus we're gonna have a ton of artifacts. We're definitely cheating this out for low. And coming in at just $1, Salvation Engine. For 4 and a white, you get an artifact vehicle. It's a 6/10. Other artifact creatures you control get +2/+2. Whenever this vehicle attacks, return up to 1 target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Crew 6. Dang, so you're telling me that you can go through your first main phase, discard some big fat hunk of junk into the graveyard, and then go to combat and pull it out with this guy? Great card. And he's actually relatively easy to crew at 6 with all the token generation we're going to have. And one of my personal favorites, the Parhelion 2. For 6 white, you get a legendary artifact vehicle. It's a 5/5, has flying, first strike, vigilance. Whenever Parhelion 2 attacks, create 2 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance that are attacking. Has crew 4. This card is absolutely crazy. It just becomes an impenetrable wall of blockers and attackers. And if you're in Alela with this, you're swinging for 16 every turn. Really good value engine and definitely an easy reanimator target. We have the Indomitable. For 2 blue, you have a legendary artifact vehicle. It's a 6/6 with trample. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Has crew 3. You may cast the Indomitable from your graveyard as long as you control 3 or more tapped pirates and or vehicles. We might not have the pirates bit, but we can definitely get 3 tapped vehicles to bring this guy back from the yard. Plus, he's a really good draw with all the tokens we're gonna have. For 1 blue, we have my mom's favorite nickname for me, a Saga. And when it enters, you reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a vehicle card. Do this 2 more times at your draw step. So basically for 3 mana, we're gonna get 3 vehicles into our hand to either put into our graveyard for animation or just to cast. This way we can always ensure our tokens are riding in on 20 fouls. Next we have a picture of me from the summer of 95, Lumengrid Augur. For 3 and a blue, we get a creature Valdelkin Wizard. It's a 2/2. For 1 tap, target player draws a card, then discards a card from his or her hand. If that player discards an artifact card this way, untap Lumengrid Augur. Dang, so he's basically just like a Shorikai Light. Really cool card, really easy way to tailor the graveyard, plus he's just so handsome. And of course, considering this is like a pseudo artifact deck, you might as well include the artifact lands. Really good to help trigger Alela, pump up Urza's little artifact creatures. And, you know, they enter untapped, a lot of them, so plug them in if you can, or just keep them out for budget reasons, whatever. Speaking of budget things, we have the cycle of pilot creating lands out of Aether Drift. They enter tapped unless you control a vehicle, which there's a lot. You should be good. I'll flash them up on the screen now, but they basically tap, sack, make a pilot. And that's basically the deck. Your commander doesn't matter that much. And we have a really good core plan, which is cheat out vehicles, draw tons of cards, and have fun. Remember, this is a living deck. Tune it to your style. Want to lean hard into Alela? Feel like Urza's the #1 muchacho? Want to leave Magnus behind and save $7? I am, and that's totally fine. As long as we stick to the main game plan and have a token enabler in the command zone to crew our vehicles, you should be able to swing in and fly high past everybody. And if you enjoyed my interesting take on the EDH format, be sure to like and subscribe. It'll let me know that people really enjoyed this philosophy on the game, and they'll maybe look forward to the next thing we spit out. So thanks for shuffling by.